Well, we have the motorhomes and the trailers up on the north end of town that I've been working with, and many of those individuals, they don't want to go to a shelter or to any services, and the problem is they have nowhere to go. I've asked the county more than once, where can anybody go with a motorhome or a trailer, and there's no answer. So I don't know what's going to become of where they're going to go, but they're going to be asked to leave.
Rick, do they have a specific date yet?
Not that I know of. All I know is that they were given the legal paperwork. It's basically what they did on the trail. It's the same paperwork that they're giving them that I know of.
Can I ask you, have you had a chance to talk with Dave Kiff or Mark Themig about possibly using some of the lot area behind the community center?
No, I haven't.
I think that might be a good place to explore. Also, the park and ride lot, which is south of town at West Grant Avenue.
Yes.
Down there by Giorgio's. That's a severely underutilized lot right now. Might be another place to look at too.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
And if anybody can obtain a copy of the notice that's being given to somebody, we're constantly, Homeless Action in its lawsuit is constantly trying to make sure that we have, evidence of what cities and counties are doing.
Okay, I have it on my phone.
Great.
Oh, great.
I understand that this land is outside of the city. Is that correct? And it's the sheriffs that are enforcing this?
Yes.
So the whole consent decree or the settlement is with the county. Now, the sheriff is not a party to that, but it's the county ordinance themselves, which the sheriff must enforce. The county is not allowed to do that. So they cannot make a complaint about the person being on the road. It has nothing to do with the sheriff. It has everything to do with the ordinance and how it's being enforced. So, these are very important things to be and distinguishable things. The other thing is, don't they have to be offered adequate shelter before they can be required to move? And this is all with a caveat that I understand they're on a form of public property, not on private property. Is that correct?
Yeah.
When they're on a park and ride,
Thomas.
when they're on a street, when they're on generally public avenues, yes, you're right, Thomas. And that's why we try to funnel a lot of this stuff to our lawyers in order to be able
Well,
to.
I'm trying to get to a fact. I'm trying to get not.
I understand that, and I'm trying to answer your question.
No. Are they or are they not on public land?
They're on public land.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we have the answer then. Then they cannot enforce this.
Thank you.
I believe.
Gail.
Yeah, Thomas, the injunction is to the city of Santa Rosa, not the county.
No, that's wrong.
That's wrong, Gail. The injunction covers both the county and the city. That's why the
Okay.
sheriff has to bail out, but basically the Park and Rec Department of the county, which is what Joe Redota Trail was
Yeah.
covered.
So we are suing the city and the county?
Exactly.
So
Both-
that encompasses the sheriffs.
No, you're talking politics now, Gail. The sheriff doesn't want to be a party of it, but he is a county official, and he's covered by it.
Okay, thank you.
Sort of is and he sort of isn't. He will enforce maybe or within a certain characterization federal law. He certainly will enforce state law, and he certainly will enforce county ordinances to the effect that he's enforcing a county ordinance. He cannot do that, and I believe he cannot do that with regard to state law within the county regarding this issue.
So I'm going to suggest that we let lawyers figure out the lawyer stuff. We know that in Santa Rosa, even with the injunction very clearly enforced, they still manage to sweep people away. So whatever the right and the legal grounds of it all is, it doesn't necessarily mean that these people are safe. And I want to put one thing in here about it, that the county has offered places for people to go, I think at the Redwood Alliance facility out near Guerneville or in the West County, but that means they will lose their R.V.s. And there's no, that's a home to me. So I really appreciate you, Charlie, for saying, let's find a place where they can park, because
Yes.
they're already safe and in a place. They don't need to go to some other shelter.
I can't understand that. How can they be offering them an adequate place or shelter? How can that be considered adequate when in fact they will be giving up their property? That's not adequate.
Yeah, well, we all have opinions about that for sure.
On
All right,
one of these notices, on the top of it, it says, notice of legal rights and opportunity to relocate.
Yep.
And then there's a phone number at the bottom that you can call.
That's what's called minimal implementation, Charlie. And not having anything that the person who you call can offer is another part of this dynamic. Drama of legal issues goes on.
Well, and that's my point, is that, while the legal issues are going on, these people still need a safe place.
Yep.
And I would just, contact Dave Kiff, contact Mark Themig. Dave Kiff is the interim city manager. Mark Themig is director of community services. Both of them are very community-oriented people, and see what can be worked out. Now, let me ask a question, because I'm really new to the topic. So this is a real good learning experience for me too. And as Gail Jonas will tell you, I'm very much of an active learner. If I recall correctly, didn't the state open up unused highway property to be used for homeless encampments?
The state offered some property. The county didn't accept it.
Ah, okay.
There were lots of spaces beneath Highway 12, the unused space that they own on Highway 12. There were lots of offerings.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, the county didn't say, we'll take this one. They did take some trailers and they put them up on Linwood.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of they did what they could, not as much as we'd like.
Yeah, so Linwood is by the fairgrounds here in Santa Rosa.
Right.
But
yeah.
what about the isn't that a county park at the south end of Healdsburg? And in the wintertime, it's flooded. The park area is flooded, but not the parking lot. I think all of that would be reasonable. The parking lot there next to that road south of town, could that be an opportunity?
The Memorial Beach parking lot, yes, that would be an opportunity. That does not flood. You're correct. The water of the river in late rainy season does come up, but I don't think it's ever actually reached that parking lot. Maybe it has in 1 or 2 years, but I don't think this year is going to be another one of them. The park and ride lot, which is also, I believe, county. It's also in the county. No, excuse me, that is actually in the city. And I don't know who actually maintains that lot or who has jurisdiction over it, other than the fact that I know it's in the city. That would be a secure, dry location.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the kind of conversation we wanted to have with local officials, is very hands-on, what can happen here for these people. And I really appreciate you, Charlie, and I hope you get elected so we can have them when you have some voting power. I want to notice to everyone that there's 2 pages of people in my screen right now. So if you're not getting an answer to your hand, please tell me. Just shout your name out, and I'll put you on the list to talk. So we're about ready to move into the Healdsburg portion of the discussion. We already have, really. And I'd like to just start by having a quick round of introductions. And when you say your name, say one short impression of Healdsburg that you have. Please don't tell us a whole story about a wonderful meal or an encounter you had up there, but just a little quick, so that those of us who don't live in Healdsburg can share our experiences there. And Alice, I'm going to start with you because you have your hand up.
Thank you. I actually want to ask if there could be one more, if we could talk about the 3,000, getting to 3,000 participants or members on the agenda. If there's time for that today, or if we need to table it to next week.
Yeah, I think we should table it. We have so many good guests from Healdsburg. I really want to focus on that. But thank you for reminding me. We'll definitely do it next week.
Thank you. So I just love the Healdsburg Plaza, beautiful place to be and gather.
Thank you. Gregory?
I just remember your plaza. I spent lots of time listening to music, hanging out. It's become a little too commercial now, but I really liked it, especially in the 80s and 90s and 2000s when Healdsburg was that cute little place up the road. And thank you for trying to retain its personality.
Barbara?
Probably ditto on what's already been said about the plaza. And just to throw in another place I like there is DeVero Winery, which is biodynamic farm, and you can walk around and see their gardens and see their pigs and the babies when they're there. So that's a nice place. Always can find a nice place to hang out in.
Eddie?
Hi, my name is Teddy Pierce. I am an independent data systems consultant in the HMIS space. And what I'm really struck by about Healdsburg, which is just such a fond memory, is I would just say Americana is how Healdsburg embodies to me. We used to do parades up there with my daughter's drill team, and all the neighbors would put their chairs out and their barbecues on the lawn and have their beers and be cheering when we went by with the music playing in the truck for the drill team. So I love that, all the flags and people just engaged in the parade. It was really fun.
Thank you. Charlie?
Well, the thing to me about Healdsburg, the most important word is community. And just from my own personal experience, I lived in New Orleans for 20 years and probably knew about 3 or 4 people in our general subdivision area. But within a year of living here, I was on a first name basis with about 44 people who live in my neighborhood. And it's a very friendly community, and it's just a wonderful, warm place to live.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Memories of music events in the plaza years and years ago, specifically jazz events, and gathering with my friends there.
Thank you. Rick?
Yeah, one of my memories, excuse me, is I grew up in San Francisco, and I used to come up here when I was little, and it was listening to the train come over the bridge, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you could hear it echo through the whole town, and they blow their whistle, and that's one thing that I miss. One of the things about today is that people don't realize is the homeless community. I was homeless a lot in my life, probably about half of my life. And I've never ran into a homeless community as of Healdsburg, who they help themselves, they help each other. And when an individual that comes into town that's not too nice, they make sure that they get out of town. So a lot of people don't realize that.
Wow, that is the most interesting boosterism I've ever heard, Rick, and that's a great one. Victoria?
Burgo. That's the way the Mexicans call Healdsburg. It's a Burgo, the farm worker country.
Yeah. Anna? Anna, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I sure can.
I forget that I mute myself. My name is Anna. I work with Reach for Home, and I just remember coming to the river at Memorial Beach growing up. I haven't been there in a while, but I still see a lot of people there.
Gary.
So instead of unmuting myself, I muted myself and didn't turn my screen on. But having said that, I'm Jerry Lalondeberg. As to Healdsburg, the absolute heroes and gems that I have experienced personally are the people from Reach for Home. I've had the opportunity to work with them, specifically with individuals that they're working with, and they're a key resource and have viable ideas for what needs to happen. So I appreciate Reach for Home, all of you.
Yeah.
First, I want to say I put on the chat my email exchange with Michael Goss, the CDC homelessness director, and my questions and his responses about the people at the north end of town. So people could take a look at that at any time. And I've been in Healdsburg for 54 years. When I first saw it, I said, I want to live here the rest of my life. It's a little harder now for a lot of reasons. Given 3 out of the 4 last years, we've had wildfires practically at our border. And I still believe, though, that this is where I want to stay the rest of my life. And it's called, all the banners downtown say, a world-class small town. I would like to be known as a small town with heart. And that will happen when we start paying more attention to our shelterless.
Thank you, Gail. Pat.
Okay. Hi, good morning. Well, I like the shops. There is like a dynamic town where the fronts actually have people there doing business, selling things, like compared to Santa Rosa, which is like, how get any deader? They succeeded and it even further. So yeah, I liked all the different things you could go and look at downtown.
Great, thank you. Eileen.
So yeah, beautiful town, and I love to visit, but just too many people.
Gail Simons.
Hi, Gail Simons here. I love that Healdsburg still has its real, honest, historic plaza, because Santa Rosa's plaza, poor thing, has had so many iterations, and Healdsburg's is authentic and it's there, and that's what I love about Healdsburg.
Thank you. Arlie.
Can you hear me? I don't have my video
Yes,
on.
I can hear you.
I don't have much experience with Healdsburg except for swimming in the river there when they dam it up. That was fun.
Thank you. Grace?
The water carnival. I have attended it twice and I took pictures. I'm a photographer, so I miss that.
Carol. Carol West.
Can you hear me?
Carol, are you with us? I think she's distracted.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. The super playground, I'm not sure if it's still there. My kids are all grown up now, but it used to be a very big wooden structure that was like a fort tunnel adventure playground. We used to go up from Petaluma to go and visit. I'm not sure if it's still there.
Thank you. Vera Zaro.
We can't hear you.
Oh, you're muted, Vera.
I like the plaza and the ambiance there, the shops around it, the musical events. Also the library, the museum. And one thing I noticed, having worked on a project that was several years ago, just a small group got together and a couple of people were from Healdsburg in this group of 4 or 5. And at that time, they were concerned that things were getting more and more expensive as more tourism was coming and more expensive venues and hotels were being put up. That was kind of a concern on the behalf of the regular citizens. I was wondering how that's going. And then that, of course, impacts homeless as well. But the town itself is very, very beautiful and inviting.
Yeah, thank you. Doralice, I don't know if you were here when this is just a quick impression of Healdsburg, and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Doralice. I'm running for City Council in Healdsburg. I was a city mouse. I came from San Francisco, and I lived in New York and Manhattan, and I grew up in Ecuador. So I've seen poverty and homelessness at extreme levels. Obviously, when I moved to Healdsburg, I didn't really think about how extreme it was becoming, but obviously a couple of years in, I started to see that. I really love Healdsburg. It's a really charming small town, and for the most part, everybody has been really friendly. And you know, part of trying to make it a community. And there's a lot of people that are, what makes me excited about Healdsburg is that there's so much pride for Healdsburg and pride for being in Sonoma County, which is such a great, large agricultural county. So I like to see the amount of people that are so proud and they get so excited and they have to tell you about it. So.
Great. Lyn Murray? You're muted right now. There you go.
Yeah. So I'm joining a little late, and I'm here basically to hear what the candidates for city council have to say about homeless, and that's what I'm here for.
Are you a resident of Healdsburg by any chance?
Yes, I am. I've been here for about 4 years. I moved here from San Jose. It's a very different community here, but it has the same % of homelessness by population as San Jose does, which was kind of interesting for me to figure out.
Yeah, really. So we also have Vera and Martin on the phone. For various reasons they can't speak, but either one of them welcome to put stuff in the chat and I will speak it for you. My name's Adrienne Lobby. I'm going to facilitate today. My memories, I became aware of Healdsburg for the farm workers, and I think it was right when I got involved in trying to help homeless people. Somebody said, you know, the farm worker community up in Healdsburg, you need to find out more about it. Also the Raven Cinema, which is just closed, I believe. And then the most recent outpouring of anti-racist work up there by activists, which caused the mayor to resign and has really left openings, I think, in the city council. And that's very inspiring to me. And those were local Healdsburg people. All right. I'm just going to remind you all that I can't see everyone in front of me. So if I'm not answering your hand, please say your name and I'll put you on the stack.
So I should be speaking on Healdsburg, I think.
Oh, sorry, Thomas, I missed you. So please do.
Well, I was an appraiser. I had my own appraisal business, and so I appraised the coast and actually about 15 counties in Northern California. But you know, I moved here and began those things just after the RUDAT, which is a rural and urban design, architectural design team that offered to Healdsburg some opportunities to coalesce the thought process there as far as the development of it. And as I appraised it, it changed its nature and values. So there were many areas in Healdsburg which were depressed and the houses were less than $100,000, maybe up to $150,000 in the south of town. And then they, you know, up in Matheson, they got a little more, but, you know, everything was very, you would say reasonable. It was not a whole lot different than Cloverdale in many ways at that time. And then of course, all the changes and so marvelous, but I also saw the problems of the increasing wealth and expense. And that's where Russ Anston and I, we conducted in the Memorial Beach Park a concert to end homelessness. That was in 2015. I just hope that we can continue on that vein. And you know, the county was generous enough to offer this opportunity, and let's interact with the city and really work on this. I think let's hear what Rick has to say, and then let's us homeless actors act on that if we can.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So some people seemed to think that this was going to be a debate because we have a couple of candidates here, Doralice and Charlie Duffy. But we've endorsed, Homeless Action has endorsed both of their candidacies, and there's seats on the council for both of them. So I don't think we need to debate who is the best one. We think you're both terrific, and we want you to win. And but I am looking to see, we've got 45 minutes. What are the main topics that we should cover? And I'm looking for everyone from Healdsburg to just tell me what you think we should cover in this discussion. I know there's so many possibilities. It's hard to start.
Can I offer a spotlight on, you know, Charlie and Doralice? Because I think that obviously running for council, you must have come to a conclusion about what your highest priorities are. So, you know, we've already asked you questions around homelessness, but, you know, if we were just voters of Healdsburg, what would you want us to know?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, okay. I really want either the city or the community to embrace the fact that we do have homeless people here. So admitting that we have people without shelter that need assistance because they are so vulnerable. And if we can at least admit that, you know, we're slowly admitting it because we've seen at least the city reach out and create a program or a relationship with Reach for Home, which is a huge step. So in order to see that progress is really great, but we still have a lot of people here that it's just an ugly topic. It's visceral. It makes people sort of cringe, and then they just want to ignore it. And I would at least like to see some more of acceptance that we have people without shelter that need our help. Because we can't really have a conversation about what we're going to do in order to help them until we admit that they're here. So for me, I think, well, let's come up with conversations on, you know, now all of us candidates are having to learn all these different words to sort of be accepting in our debates, right? So the latest word is affordable by design, which is not as, it's about a little bit better than affordable housing, but it still doesn't actually mean anything if there isn't anything to point to. If we actually have a location to put, say, tiny houses or allow for, you know, container ship, you know, boxes to be converted into small houses, or a piece of land that we can put a, you know, multi-story apartment building, you know, and just work on that. And then once it's available, then we can offer it up. But all of this can't really be discussed until people will at least admit that we have a population that's shelterless. So I feel like I keep bringing that up. So I want to admit, yeah. So that's kind of my goal when I'm, you know, why I want to be on the council, because I want to be a voice for those that just don't have a voice right now.
Charlie.
Thank you. I guess from my perspective, I'm the type of person who thinks government has a responsibility to allocate resources to help people. And so for me to look at this, I look at it from more of a, I guess, more of a governmental perspective. What I would like us to see is create a position within community services to actually work with the homeless, rather than having this as something tacked on to the housing director. Let's have a full-time person in community services acting as a liaison with the nonprofits, coordinating the work of nonprofits, and simply getting city council's attention. We do have some land available. There's an acre directly adjacent to the community center at the north end of town. It's a little triangular area up there by, like I said, just north of the community center. Would be an ideal location for either transitional or permanent supportive housing, or some combination of both, because you are right there at the community center. You're about a 4-block walk from the Healdsburg Food Pantry. It's right on the single transit line that comes through Healdsburg. So there is mass transit there. So it would be an ideal location. And I agree. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. When I started thinking about running for city council, my focus was on more things like getting the city to be more honest with finance and being more transparent and engaging the community. Gail Jonas has really opened my eyes in many respects to the fact that we do have an issue with homelessness here in our town. And it's really sad that, and it's always bothered me about the United States, you know, the wealthiest country in the world, we still have children going to bed hungry at night. We still have deep pockets of poverty. You know, I can think all the way back to 1964, LBJ's war on poverty, yet another war we've lost. So I really think that in our town, we have a situation that we should be doing more for, that the city could be doing more to bring this population back in.
Thank you, both of you. Rick, I'm going to turn to you and Anna for a minute. Why don't you just educate us a little bit? How many homeless people are in Healdsburg? You did give some characterization of what kind of people are there, but maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the homeless people who live in Healdsburg.
At the moment, we probably have around 70, 75 individuals from all different walks of life. They all have a different story, and we have individuals that are wanting to work. And one of the things that we have is everyone is really participating in keeping their camps clean. We have a good big push on
thing about homeless.
Excuse me?
Healdsburg thing about homeless.
Oh,
talking.
Yes, and they are doing a great job in helping cleaning up their area. You know, like I said before, you know, the homeless here in town, they take care of each other more than I've seen any other place that I've been. You know, and they're proud of their town. They really are, and they want to be part of this town, and you know, and they deserve to be here, and you know, and we just need to try to figure out how we can make this work.
You know, Rick, pretty common statistically that 85% of homeless people became homeless while they were in wherever they are now, in this case, Sonoma County. Do you find that true in Healdsburg, that most of your folks are local, raised, born, or had been there before they became homeless?
Oh yeah, probably over 50% have been here basically their whole lives. You know, they went to elementary school together. They went to high school together. There's individuals here that I was homeless with myself, yeah, there is quite a bit of individuals that were raised here.
And what's the percentage, if you can say, of women, children, elder, you know, over 65, veterans?
Well, the women, we probably have, I don't know, maybe 10%, and with over 65, we have probably another 15%. Most of our individuals are in the 40 to 50 range. Yes.
And mostly single men?
Yes. Yes, mostly single men.
Okay, so Anna, now I'm going to ask you, what kind of services are available aside from getting to know Rick? What did Reach for Home do? And
yeah, I probably got in through that.
Oh, I'm sorry, my computer's freezing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Give it a try.
Okay, so I believe the question was what else, but
what services
what
are
other
available
services does
now
Reach for
for these 70, 75 people?
I'm so sorry, Rick. I can't. My computer's
And
freezing.
I'll text you.
Yeah, let's let Rick answer it. He probably knows as well. I want to hear your lovely voice, but go ahead, Rick.
Our services that we have is we have 2 more individuals that are on our outreach team. We have a nurse who's a registered nurse on our outreach team. So we are providing medical services. We take individuals to their appointments who can't make it. We make their appointments medical, mental, dental. I mean, Social Security, IDs, whatever that they need, we try to provide for them.
This is a 22 Cover Remington bullet flying through the air at 1,800 feet per second.
Carolyn?
And this
Carolyn
is
Harrison?
a mind-blowing new type of battery.
There we go. Thank you so much. All right, Rick.
We take individuals to these appointments who can't make it to their appointments, but one of our goals is to make them independent. And if they are able to get to their appointments, we get them their bus passes, or we set up their appointments and we get them to go there, so they start taking care of themselves. One of our things is that we'd like to start is to get them a primary doctor to try to stop these emergency room appointments and get them to get to their checkups and to help them keep themselves healthy. Anna, are you there?
I'm gonna
Okay,
try
go ahead.
this one more time.
Yeah.
All right.
Anna.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so we also provide rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing, which is our referrals coming from coordinated entry. So we offer assistance with housing to stabilize folks, and so that they're in a place where they can be more self-sufficient as well. And then the team collaborates, right? We work with our outreach coworkers to make sure that there's that warm handoff, and once they're into housing, it's a whole different challenge, but we work with community partners. We work with Clean River Alliance. We work with local clinics, with people who, your tiny farms, who it takes a village to help someone feel like, they can contribute something to our community.
So let me ask you, Anna, if you would say how many people you're able to get into actual housing through rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing, and if they come through coordinated entry, they're not necessarily from Healdsburg, or are they? How does that work?
So Reach for Home does have language in our contract with the county where we take, for our Healdsburg, for the Healdsburg unit we have, we can take folks from first. Then the rest of the North County, Windsor through Cloverdale. And if nothing comes up, nobody comes up, then we expand to the rest of the county. But we do have preference for North County.
Great. And how many people over the course of a year or 3 months? What are the numbers?
Over the course of how long?
A year or 3 months, whatever you can pull up on your.
From Healdsburg, we have 11 units. So there's some studios and some 2-bedroom apartments. So it would be 11 households.
Uh-huh. And those
And
are
that could
when they
vary.
turn over, then you can allow the next person in, right?
Yeah.
How did you obtain those?
Correct.
units?
What was the question?
How did you obtain those units? How did you get access to the placements? I mean, to where you.
So yeah, so it goes back to a partnership between St. Paul's and the owner of those units. So St. Paul's is a church in Healdsburg where Reach for Home was born from.
Okay.
So it's just been a relationship from years and years ago.
Great. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
But do you want, Anna, do you want to talk about the new units or the relationship with the city?
With Mill District, are you talking about?
Yeah.
So moving forward, Reach for Home has really invested in working with developers to secure affordable units that would be assigned for homeless people in Healdsburg. So when those units open up, we can transition people into housing directly. That's in the future. And that's been right now, one of the solutions we found, because there is a lack of housing units.
Yeah, thank you.
Gail.
Well, and then Gregory.
The market is tight, requiring great credit score, income. So this is something that we felt like it works.
Thank you. Gail Simons.
Anna, at what number on the waiting list for those 11 units?
It's through coordinated entry. So these people don't have a set time of how fast they'll be able to move out. I mean, that's what our team works with, but it's all through coordinated entry. We don't have an in-house wait list.
So you don't know?
No.
Thank you. That's the basics that I was hoping to get. I just want to put a plug in here for Reach for Home too. I go to county meetings and have off and on for 5 or 6 years. And your director, who is moving on now, Colleen Carmichael, always was a voice of concrete action and reality-based stuff. Sometimes these meetings are just way off in the distance and they're basically power struggles of who gets to decide things. And Colleen was always really good at saying, what are we doing to help homeless people now, and making that part of the discussion. So I wish you luck with your new director. Hope that you get the same spirit. But I assume that she got some of that spirit from the two of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Gregory.
I first encountered, like you did, Reach for Home when the state started giving money to counties through something called HEAP. A lot of us sort of were born in the $12 million that the county gave out 3 years ago for a program called HEAP. It's morphed into something called HAP, and they're continued. So a lot of us have our operating money, Saves and Reach for Home and others. We're all sort of relative newcomers to the organizational effort to try to solve homelessness, but we're all born in the same process. And the good news I just want to share with you is that right now in Congress, the Republicans and Democrats are trying to fight over this new stimulus bill, but a part of it says basically continue all those grants, continue all those contracts. Don't go out, and this is a controversial issue, but don't go out starting new things. Continue the same things at the level that they have or more. So hopefully Reach for Home will be around for another year to 2 to 3 to 4 to be able to continue to do the things it's doing. Now, I want to get to Anna's point about trying to get low-income housing developers to give slots for homeless. We're trying to do that in Santa Rosa too, and we're kind of disappointed, I am, that everybody's moving to this, design or affordable by design, which means just make it a little smaller,
Right.
have a little fewer square footage. And not require anybody to do a certain percentage of theirs in some form of low-income housing. Now, to developers, low-income housing is about $1 less than market rate. It's not really down to the level where our folks can afford it. So I applaud the church and applaud anybody trying to give units for people who are less than 30% of annual median income, but most of the development world is trying to get 100% or 150%. They're not really giving much of a break to anybody who's homeless. And we've got to keep doing that, because 7,000 units in downtown Santa Rosa with not one of them available to homeless is unacceptable. There are some developers, Woodpan and Burbank and the rest, that we're trying to get slots in there already affordable. But we have a long way to go before we're actually going to have what Healdsburg has.
Okay, I see Carol West and then Gail Simons.
Yeah, to the people running for office, Doralice and Charles, but also to those who are working for Reach for Home, I'm wondering how many of the people that you serve or that are homeless are also struggling with mental health issues, and what services are available to help them if they are lucky enough to get housing, to stay in their housing.
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to hold you off, Gail, and let some people answer that question.
You want to answer that, Anna?
Yeah.
Yes, so a big chunk of people who are homeless are facing mental health issues. And it could be that they already had before they became homeless, or it's something that developed during their homelessness. So what our team is doing is we've created the street medicine program. So we have an LVN in our staff, but we also have a contract with an LCSW who reserves a day to go out and do runs with outreach or when needed. So during the fires and during a few instances where we really needed that mental health expert, we were able to bring her on our runs. And it's a vital piece of having people transition back into inside housing. I think, Rick, if you want to give more input, but that's what we're doing right now, is trying to do wraparound services so that people are able to stay in their homes.
And one of our things in Healdsburg is our relationship with Alliance clinic. The deal about trying to get these guys their doctor, a primary doctor, because then from the primary doctor they could refer them to their mental health program and at Alliance. And we have individuals that are going through this, and they have a therapist and they have a psychiatrist. It's just a little percentage. We need a lot more help. But there's well over 50% of our homeless that have mental health issues.
Thank you. Someone asked, what is the Alliance? I assume that's a clinic. I'll get to you, Lynn. I see your hand. Thank you.
Yes, it is. Alliance Medical Center. It's a clinic up by Healdsburg, the Healdsburg Hospital. We work, yes, very, very closely with them.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Gail Simons and then Lyn Murray.
So according to one of the most recent homelessness counts, we had in our county something like 3,000 people that were unhoused. And Healdsburg, working with St. Paul's, has 11 units that it's been trying to fill of permanent housing. Santa Rosa doesn't have the same kind of arrangement with NHChurch. A lot of people have homes out of that 3,000. They're just on wheels. They're mobile homes or they're cars. So it seems like one of the biggest efforts we should be making, all of our cities, is for safe parking areas. Services can get to people if they're in a safe parking community, and we can provide sanitation in a safe parking community. So it just seems like we should be focusing on pushing for that first, and then housing units, tiny houses of some sort or whatever we can come up with. Thank you.
Thanks, Gail. I think we should talk about that a little more depth, but first, you're Lynn, you're up.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about something that Rick has just finished talking about, and that is Alliance Medical Center. I happen to be on the board there right now, and there is a program called the MAT program, M-A-T, Medically Assisted Therapy, which is available to anyone at no cost, where you can through your primary care physician, you will get the treatment that you need to transition off of drugs, which, you know, takes more than just a lot of resolve. I mean, a lot of these folks that are addicted have to be stepped down with some appropriate drug therapy in the background. And it has to be managed. The physicians have to be qualified to administer it. It's, you know, it's not just, you know, I want to get off drugs and I'll get off drugs. No, people need help. I mean, that's the nature of addiction. They need help and they need support. And Alliance Medical Center will offer that to anyone who comes to that conclusion. And that is therapy with a counselor, with a psychiatrist, with a group, with adjunct medication to help that transition take place.
Thank you. That sounds like a worthwhile program. I'm curious if it's other places in the county and how
it has not. It's difficult to get a program like that going because the physicians have to be certified to render the medicine that goes with helping these folks. It's a tall order, but you know, Alliance Medical Center, which sits right next door to the Healdsburg Hospital. They're not related institutionally, but they share the same parking lot, is available to anyone who's serious about trying to overcome a drug problem.
Great, that's really good information. Rick, before I go on to Jerry and Thomas, can you give me a percentage, your best guess of how many people in the 70, 75 are addicted to either drugs or alcohol?
Jeez. That's, you know, it's hard to come up with I'd say 60%.
Least.
Yeah.
And there are some of our people that are going through that program at Alliance, and that's what I mean. That's the kind of relationship that we have with Alliance. You know, they really do work with us. I mean, they bend over backwards actually for our clients.
Thank you. And you know, I just want to mention that, of course, people who are homeless often self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, and I'm trying to avoid the stigma that we often have about what that means if you're an addict. Jerry and Thomas had their hands up, and I think I saw Carol again. So let's go with Jerry.
Thank you. Yes, I would call to mind with Reach for Home and everyone the relationship that you also have with the IMDT and Whole Person Care, High Needs Homeless, as well as the Heart Team. There is the Whole Person Care Group has made itself available to Reach for Home to go out with them, as well as to have a monthly meeting with them. The Heart Team is the group that's actually staffing part of the RV event north of town right now. And then the IMDT is the interagency multidisciplinary team, which allows communication about specific individuals. And Alliance is part of that, and Reach for Home is part of that. So we have some really specific tools to talk about very specific individuals, and that's a real value as we move forward.
Yes.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, I wanted to address the question of Healdsburg is with respect to homeless action. What can we do to further what you need there? What can homeless action do to further what you need? Say, for instance, a safe parking site, whether it's at the Park and Ride or whether it's at Memorial Beach, or maybe in communication with either IMDT or the sheriff with regard to the northern existing, you know, eviction, if you will. What is it we can do?
Well, if we find a place to have safe parking for all of the RVs and the cars, we would probably need people to manage that, just to make sure that everybody is okay there. Obviously, things will continue to rise up, and we would need to make sure we have bathroom services. Because of the pandemic, we need to take a little bit extra precaution, and that's pretty much long-term until the pandemic goes away. So if we do find a safe parking lot, there was talk about using one of the extra parking lots up by the Villa Chanticleer, because the villa is basically empty until further notice, but there is a parking lot there. That would create stir on Fitch Mountain for the people that live near the Villa Chanticleer, but it is a safe parking lot, and we could come up with a plan. We would just need people to help, because obviously Reach for Home is pretty stretched, and you need help. And that's also going to take money, unless we get a lot of really amazing volunteers that don't want to work, don't want to get paid. But we will have to pay things like make sure that the bathrooms are maintained, and garbage, probably have to get a dumpster wherever we are with parking, and make sure that we don't have to do sweeps. So if people are in their RVs or their cars, they're not made to move every day, which is what has been happening. We have people living in their cars right now in Healdsburg. They just know to move their car maybe up a block or down a block, so that they don't get alerting their neighbors. So yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah, and we have a sister organization called Saves that has been advocating and wanting to manage safe parking. So
okay.
We're pretty, we also, Homeless Action itself managed a safe parking lot for 18 months or something, a long time. So we'd like to help.
I mean, there would be a way to split it up. We wouldn't have to put all the RVs in one location with the cars and then just clap our hands and walk away. We could really look at lots of different locations in town that make sense for everybody. So if you're living in your hatchback, you can live, say, in one lot that's specifically cars, or if it's near the community center and that's approved, and then maybe the RVs go somewhere else, because they really do need to make sure you can empty the RVs and keep them clean and all that. So yeah.
Yes,
lots of options.
Those are all good ideas, but what I meant was, how can we help coordinate not the execution, but the implementation? In other words, that question that you had is if we can get that. And I'm saying, what can we do to facilitate the if part?
So let's hold on just a minute, Thomas, because I think that's exactly where we should go with this conversation. But I think I saw, I wanted to say that Gail Jonas is putting information in the chat, and I highly recommend you all to do that. I'll also keep a record of the chat. So if you miss something and you want information, just email me and I'll send it out to you. So let's get specific. And I think I'm going to ask Charlie and Doralice to bring in here. Where can we have safe parking? We've already had some discussions. How likely is it? What are the barriers? What are the other council people, the incumbents, thinking of it? What can we say about safe parking in Healdsburg now?
Well, I'll just jump in if you don't mind. I think the big issue about safe parking, one of the big issues are the costs associated with having safe parking on city property. And if Homeless Action and Reach for Home and some of these other programs are up front saying we can provide, we can provide a dumpster, we can provide sanitary services, we can provide portable showers, that would be a big step forward in helping the city understand that this is something we can do on our vacant land. Okay, and like I said, we have an acre north of the city, right, basically north adjacent to the Civic Center, excuse me, the community center. We have a large parking lot in the back of the community center. And the reason to me that that's a great location is because it is close to some other services that are needed. I believe Doralice is correct. We need to have people, basically our current city council needs to understand we do have a homeless problem. And I'm not sure they do understand it. I know our community services director is a very community directed person, literally, and wants to do things. He's been very effective in that role. And I'm sure he would step forward and saying, yeah, let's take the lead on helping these people and finding ways to help them. It's having that, going there right at the very beginning, knowing that you have some resources lined up, because simply the city is not in a position right now to allocate a lot of resources. Our transit occupancy tax is way down. Our sales tax collections are way down. We'll find out more later this month exactly how bad it actually is. And the city is probably going to be looking at, if not reduction of services, it'll be reduction of staff.
Yeah, thank you. Gail, let me get you in here quickly. And also Gail Jonas, if you want to speak.
Yes, very quickly. The thing I think we have to impress upon the city leaders and the city populace is that these parking lots are happening already. So people obviously are being towed away from where they're parking on the sides of the road. The parking lots are happening already. So all we need to do is make them safe parking lots and be able to provide services. Santa Rosa has spent, and county have spent millions of dollars cleaning up after unsanctioned safe parking and camping. It's sort of backwards. If we can get ahead of the game and provide services, maybe churches, maybe wealthy people will help provide services. Maybe it's not all on the city taxpayer, but it's backwards to keep saying we can't provide the services, we can't spend that much money when it's already happening. The parking lots are already happening. You just need to make them safe, provide services, and save a lot of money. That's all.
Thank you. Gail Jonas, did you want to speak? You're muted. There we go.
Oh, I know I am. I was just on the phone trying to call the developers of the Mill District, because not only are they waiting to determine whether or not they're going to have the funding for their affordable housing, but also how many of those units are actually for the shelterless. And so I'm trying to get that information. And what I'm trying to do, because I tend to talk a lot and I think I have a lot of information, is to put everything in the chat. So I don't need to say a lot because I'm typing away like mad.
Well, I really appreciate it because we have a pretty full house today. I'm going to get to you in a second, Doralice, for your thoughts on this, but let me go to Carol West first.
Yeah, I just responding to Lyn Murray and the addiction services. I think one of the things that's new is that I think last Friday, not 2 Fridays ago, Governor Newsom signed some new legislation, one of which was AB 2266, and that is hopefully going to free up some more money for or at least facilitate the process that agencies get reimbursed for services for addiction and mental health services. And then the other thing I just wanted to put out there is that SB 803 has passed, which is the peer certification bill. And what this might do for Sonoma County is if we do create the infrastructure for peers to become part of the system, it really shifts people from the "you are the problem" column to "you are part of the solution" column. And I think there are a lot of existing trainings that can be instituted where people who have lived experience of homelessness, drug addiction, and mental health issues then become the staff, perhaps beginning with, being volunteers, but with the intention of moving into full paid positions. And there is infrastructure in the 803 legislation that will create the reimbursement process, which has not existed up until this point. This legislation has been 4 years in the making. It's failed 3 times. It passed 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I think I'd like for potentially anyone who's interested to come to an event on October 15th. The Sonoma County Peer Council is going to have someone talking a little more about what that might mean locally to Sonoma County. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it can really potentially offer jobs to people who have lived experience.
Carol, can I ask you about 2266? Did that
Now,
pass?
hold on
yet?
a second, Thomas, because
It
we've
did
only got
pass.
10 minutes, 8 minutes actually.
Yes.
Carol, if you wouldn't mind putting some of this in the chat, because I'm sure
Sure.
the numbers and some of the details went by fast, but definitely this is something the Homeless Action supports. And I want to say to Charlie that SAVES has been raising money to do safe parking. And so I think we could probably give you some of those guarantees that you're looking for.
Right.
Doralice, your thoughts about instituting safe parking in Healdsburg?
I've been wanting this for a long time, and I continue to talk till I'm blue in the face about this. We need safe parking. We need to take advantage of all the parking, but we see perspectives are skewed, right? The city decided to spend a fortune on building the parking lot that would be considered the future railroad district, but we don't have a train coming to town anytime soon. So we have an empty parking lot that's used as a park and ride basically, but people use park and ride all over town, so they don't really need to use that parking spot. That's a perfect location. It's right on the walkway. We have a lot of people that already live on the river camps. We look at the places that are already where our people are, instead of forcing them to move to another area that they're not comfortable being at. You talk about wanting to support people, but then you're ripping them away from whatever comfort level they might actually have. As per the person that is, understands what it means to be homeless, we have Rick, who works for Reach for Home, who was homeless, and he understands firsthand what it means to be with nothing and then get something. So as far as training, maybe future people who want to work, who might have, street smarts, we have an opportunity here to take advantage of the people that are right in front of us. We had at one point, I think Joe Nayokas wanted to be on a committee to create a program within the city in order to help the homeless. And we thought, well, why would we want to create another program when we already have Reach for Home, and we have Alliance, and we have West County Services, and we have Vet Connect. We have all of these programs that already exist in the county, and none of the nonprofits or programs are really, they're trying to work together, but it's a lot of work. So yeah, we're gonna need a lot of money, and we're gonna need, but we just need a little bit of foresight to see that we have all of these people that are already here. And we have also, the whole world has homelessness, and there's a lot of successful programs all around the world. So why are we recreating the wheel? We can do a lot with what we already have. And a lot of it just goes back to the fact that people just don't want to face what we are up against, and it's just going to get worse. More fires mean more shelterless. And pandemic is going to continue to force people out of jobs, which means they are no longer going to pay their rent, which means they'll get evicted. It just continues to build on itself. So yeah, we got to get behind it quick.
Yeah, I think the emergency piece of this is so important.
The climate
I've got a question for you, any of you from Healdsburg. How organized are homeless people there? Is there a chance to do sort of a public event? Would they participate in it to raise their, to raise people's awareness that we live here and we're not going away, you need to help? And could Homeless Action be part of doing something like that? Maybe it's a thought thing for you all, but I'd like your thoughts on it quickly.
I'll just say one quick thing about that is, if you're talking about people that were homeless and now are not, and they can talk about it because they feel secure, but if you talk to people that are homeless right now who are terrified, you can't mobilize them because they're so afraid of being part of a sweep or getting evicted or moved out. So you got to really look at the people that, had the history and they can talk about it and they can mobilize. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else got an opinion on that from Healdsburg? How can we help make the community more aware of the homeless people that are there, and that there are some somewhat simple solutions that could make a big difference?
Can I speak up?
Who's answering?
Gail.
Gail.
Yes, Gail.
So in 2017, some residents put on 2 shelterless forums, or I called because they like it better, I call them shelterless. So one was in March and the other one was in September. And we invited the public, and we invited, since this had to be independent from Reach for Home, but we invited the Reach for Home staff, Rick and Colleen, to come talk. And the first one, on March 1st, we had over 100 residents, 10 shelterless spoke up about, they got up and talked, often in tears. And it also was an opportunity for, we had children involved, and they were able to help raise some money to put a donated van on the road. So there was a high level of interest, and the same thing happened again on September 23rd. The problem is keeping the momentum. That is, what I see is the really difficult thing, is to continue to maintain people's interest. I think the interest is there. I don't think that a lot of our residents don't think there's a problem. It's just that it's just really difficult because, for instance, Rick and Anna are so busy doing what they're doing. And unless we get more people involved in being active, I think it's hard to carry forward from that. So that my goal in sitting on the sideline here just as a resident is to try to get the residents more aware and get them involved. And believe me, that's the hard part. And we're so distracted now. This is the problem with what's going on. So I'm just going to continue to put stuff in the chat. But I just feel like what we need to do is, I don't think it's a matter of lack of caring. It's a lack of to be able to pull us all together to actually work on it.
Thank you, Gail. So we've just got a couple minutes. So Teddy, and then I'll make a little wrap-up statement.
Okay, quickly, for the folks who are again running for candidates on the call, what we lack here is a structural measurement system to know how anything that we're doing is working across the county. So I would hope that you would advocate to get that. It exists, it is not being allowed to be used. So I would hope that you'd advocate in whatever your position might be to get that done.
Thank you. Well, this has been a really exciting meeting for me, and I'm so much appreciative of Charlie and Doralice for kind of starting us off to say yes, that they would come to the meeting, and then the Reach for Home, and Lyn being here. We have an incredible resource in this group, and when we talk about 70, 75 people, that is manageable. That's a number we could actually get to where in a year we can say, oh, there's 30. It's not really, it's a little bit, to me, it's easier to deal with than 2,000 people across Sonoma County. So I really, really appreciate you all. The high level of conversation here has been great. And Gregory, I see you want to make one more comment.
Yeah. As if we didn't have enough to handle, I just want to report that at a state meeting last week of all the directors of all the departments of the state that Newsom appointed, focused on homelessness. It's called the California Homeless Coordinating and Financing Council. Their biggest fear, other than spending the money they already have is January 31st, when the eviction moratorium ends, and they expect a whole lot of people to be kicked out of their houses. And they're worried. That's what keeps them up at night. They spent 2/3 of the meeting trying to figure out how they can prevent that from happening. So I just want all of you to know that state directors are worried about it, and they're trying to get Congress to give them more money in the bailout bill, but they're frightened that all of a sudden all of our efforts are going to be intensified.
Yes, as they should be. So if I was a really good facilitator here, I'd be trying to pin someone down to be our regular Healdsburg liaison, because I think this would be a very fruitful partnership if Homeless Action and folks from Healdsburg can continue conversations. We meet every Monday. The meetings are open. You can tell anybody from Healdsburg to just show up. As well as until we get Zoom bombed, we'll always use the same Zoom information. And I thank you all.
Teddy, do you live in Healdsburg?
No, I'm Windsor. Yep.
Well, that's
okay. Don't say that like it's a bad thing. You live in
Oh,
Windsor.
no.
Windsor.
Well, thank you so much for that. I do consider myself a kissing cousin, so maybe that's close.
Yeah, we're calling it Windsor Healdsburg now.
I did also want to bring a bit of good news, and I'm not sure how many of you are already aware of it, that the Board of Supervisors did approve the extension of the mobile support team up into Healdsburg, Windsor area. And I think there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for social services to get involved, because one of the discussion points was the potential to move the mobile support unit into what they call the cahoots model, which is where the dispatch sends out social services first, not police first. So it's been a very successful model in Portland, Oregon, has run for more than 30 years. And I can put a link in the chat box as well. And it really is an opportunity to help divert people away from law enforcement. And I'm not sure how big a problem that is with the homeless in Healdsburg, but I know in other places it has been, that often people are cited for trespassing and other things. So,
you know, Carol, we are having that problem with the R.V.s as well, which is where the dispatch sends police out to enforce the 72 hours. And I believe that's wrong and in violation of the settlement. And we need to have that cahoots model where they send out some social services to the people who have RVs or motorhomes that are parking in their cars over the 72 hours instead of the police. That's just wrong because they're threatening to take their property. They can't do that according to the settlement.
Yeah, we're talking about it in Katati too. So it's a way to use some of this money that goes into the police in more productive ways. So again, thank you all. I don't want to keep you here too much past 11. I think it's really important for us to be able to say, yeah, we're done. We'll come back next week.
Can I ask one thing? Can I ask one thing before people go? Teddy, are you still there? Teddy, are you still there?
I don't see her. I think she may have rung off.
Ooh,
for those of you who haven't read the chat, there's a small button down at the bottom right, has 3 little dots in it. If you click that, it'll download the chat to your computer. If you're on the homeless Google email list, I will send out the chat to you. So if you're not on that list, please contact Adrian and get on that list so that you can get routinely all the chat.
Yeah, and I say that too. And we send out these announcements about homeless action. It's a Google group. Everybody's welcome to join it. Alice, one last thing.
Thanks. I just would like to connect with Rick. Michael Gallus and I have been talking about homeless people with lived experience group for the county, and he's been encouraging me to ask you to be involved with that. So if I could get your contact information, please.
Okay. It's my email is rick@reachforhome.org.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I want to plug in for Alliance, because Alliance, a long time ago, when it was just the Russian River Switchboard, Kairos People Center, and the Alliance, as the multi-human service sort of informal centers around the county, Alliance was a strong partner, and I really appreciate them.
All right. Thank you all.
Ask, maybe Adrian, would you like to say? I asked Gregory if he would. I thought he was going to run. But either way, if both of you could stay afterwards, and even Alice if she chose to, because I want to talk to towards something.
I made Adrian a co-host because I do have to leave.
Yeah, I can be here for another 10 minutes if people want to continue the conversation.
And if Alice is there, I don't know if Alice is there.
Yes, I'll be there.
I thought Alice was a part of this conversation.
Yeah, Adrian, I have sent you some materials about the October 15th event. So
great.
If that's appropriate, you can distribute.
Yeah,
okay,
I'll make
thanks.
sure people know about it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Good meeting, people.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
It was a pleasure to
Hey,
be.
Doralice.
Yeah. Vote for me and Charlie.
Go.
Thank you, Charlie.
Win-win. Okay.
Yes, the win-win. That's what we want.
Yeah, make changes.
Yeah, we're trying.
We're trying, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
You guys are great. Okay, hey, you guys are there?
So yeah, I think we're getting down to a smaller group, Thomas.